My name is Andy Torres. I'm the director at the American Embassy School, and we're really happy to have you here today to see the first of three very, very important webinars that we're offering this week. Today we're focusing on our elementary programs, and Mr. Bellamy and his team will present to you their plans, their insights, and the activities that your children will be taking on as we move into our startup next week. I think it's really important for us to all understand that we're here to provide as much information and to answer as many questions as you might have today. And so we have put into this capability on this webinar a Q&A. The Q&A space is a button at the bottom of the screen. And we ask that you submit one question at a time into the question box for us. People who put in multiple questions often get their questions answered, but it's much more difficult for our team to address multiple questions at the same time. So just one question at a time. You can submit as many as you like. There's no limit. The focus today, and the one that I think you're going to hear about, is about our educational excellence and our delivery of programs and learning for your children. As we begin online, everything we do is with the with the target of addressing your children's experiences as they move to a on-campus program. Our mission, which focuses on the joyful pursuit of excellence, is where this team is really focusing and trying to help your kids to prepare for a changing, dynamic, I think, exciting school year as we move forward. We want them to feel empowered. We want them to feel inspired. And ultimately, our mission asks us to do that every day. I also want to focus on our values. Today, you're going to hear about how we're trying to help your children to understand about respect, about safety, about learning through challenge, about being true, honest, invested learners as they move through their learning experiences in these early weeks. But ultimately, and I think this is the most important part, you have an amazingly talented, committed team that comes from all kinds of backgrounds to help your children prepare for a future at AES. I'm going to turn over to our principal, Mr. Charles Bellamy, and he'll tell you more about what's going to be going on today in this webinar. Charles.
Thank you so much, Andy. I just want to reiterate what Andy said about the dedication in this team and the work that we've been doing, and just also about the excitement that we have about this new year and how anxious we are to get back to doing what we love the most, and that's working with our students. I'm going to go ahead and let our team just introduce themselves briefly before we dig into the webinar today. I am Charles Bellamy, the new elementary principal at AES for next year.
Hello and welcome. My name is Scott White. I'm the assistant principal here in the elementary school, and this is my 16th year at the American Embassy School.
Hi, I'm Kelly Arrington, and I will be one of the counselors.
I am John Stein. I'm the other elementary school counselor. I'm from New York City, but currently in Sacramento.
Hi, I'm Wendy Geyer. I'm the elementary librarian, and this is my 7th year at AES.
Hi, I'm Shifali, and I'm one of the EL teachers, and this will be my 8th year teaching.
Hi, I'm Camille Lepp, and I'm a learning support teacher, and this is my 3rd year at AES.
Hi, I'm Janice Roper. I coordinate the after-school activities program called IPOP, and this is my 4th year at AES.
Hi, I'm Diane Ajamian, and I'm a teaching and learning coach in the elementary school and going into 4th year at AES.
Great. Thank you, everyone. So I want to start today talking about our Connected Campus Learning. This is the online program that we're going to deliver instruction through until such time that we can get students back on campus. I want to talk a little bit about the thought process and what we've gone through to try to design and determine the best way forward for us and our students. We've looked at many different models. We've looked at schools all over the world, public, state schools, obviously international schools. We've looked at leading research. You know, what does research say about online delivery of instruction for kids in a pre-K through 5th grade environment? We've looked at other schools who have had successful models, schools that may have already gone through this process and now are reopened and gotten their feedback about what their mistakes were and what worked and how they helped their students. We've met with leading consultants and talked to them about their experiences with other schools and what their advice to us is. We've looked at international school organizations such as NISA that we belong to get information from them. We have also looked at parent feedback. And you know, the one thing I can tell you about all the research and everything we've done is there are a lot of differing opinions. There are a lot of different models. There are strong opinions about certain things in certain areas. And even amongst our parent feedback, at times there are parents who feel very strongly about one approach. And then, you know, I'll hear from another parent whose opinion or perception is a completely different approach. What we've done is we've looked at all of this information and tried to come up with something that we think is going to help kids be successful and is going to meet the values and the mission statement that Andy shared with you just moments ago. One thing that's important, we are always planning with our eye on a return to campus. We are shaping things, doing things, always with the consideration that at some point, our kids will come back to campus and we need them to be where they should be. We need that transition to be smooth. We are always moving towards that goal. With that said, you've heard a lot of talk about asynchronous and synchronous learning, and I wanted to talk a little bit today about what the research and all those folks that we've talked to and all the work that we've done has led us to about these two things. I'll start with asynchronous. We firmly believe and think that the research tells us and the success of other models tell us that first-time instruction or lessons should be delivered asynchronous. It provides students an opportunity to replay, repeat. It provides flexibility for parents to replay, repeat, sit with their students to view those lessons, support their students as they look at them. We believe that it meets a wider range of needs for all students, not just specifically their learning style, but also family schedules, family constraints, the demands that may be on a family that has 3 kids in 3 different grade levels. If we do group synchronous instruction for first-time instruction, there's also a lot of distractions with 20 faces on the screen doing different things. But the research and the experts and everything that we've looked at tells us that asynchronous is the way to go for the first time in instruction and lesson. There will be asynchronous assessment too. You know, there are times when that will be used to help us measure how students are progressing. On the other side, we have the synchronous, which would be you're live with someone. You are talking to a person on Zoom or, you know, a group of people on Zoom. What we know and what we've learned is that connecting students in a large group for social emotional support needs to happen in a synchronous environment. Small group or individual instruction where a teacher is really intervening or helping a student who's having trouble grasping a concept, that needs to be done synchronously, but it needs to be done in small groups and with individuals. And we're committed to providing those opportunities on a regular basis for students to get the help and the support they need. And that will look different for different students. And we'll talk a little bit about that later. We think synchronous is where we're going to build relationships, make connections with students. And again, with that eye on one day they're going to be on campus and we want to be able to pick up and go. We've already got relationships established and we've made connections. So we don't have to stop and do that again once they're on campus with us. We know that synchronous is the place that in those small groups and individual sessions, students, that's where they need to think and process ideas and share with their teacher and share with others. So there is learning that's going to happen synchronously. But the difference is it's not the first time instruction. It's not the introduction. It's not the lesson. It's going to be the cognitive part where they are thinking, processing ideas, getting support, asking questions. That's going to be synchronous. Bigger part of synchronous, though, is that community building. That's where the large group is going to happen. We're going to make connections with your kids and allow them to connect with their peers. When we went through this, you know, there's a lot of discussion about balance and equity, and we have kids in different time zones. And I mentioned earlier to you that we have parents who feel that their kid needs, you know, one thing, and another parent who's saying my kid needs exactly the opposite of that. So we want to talk about balance and equity. We need to balance the asynchronous and the synchronous. But equity is not every kid getting exactly the same thing. Equity is each kid getting what they need to be successful. And in a classroom, we can do that easily. You know, when we're in a group, particularly in our new flexible learning spaces, where we have a learning community that has multiple adults, we can take small groups and we can meet them where they are in that moment. In the online environment, that has to be more purposeful and thoughtful, and it's going to look different. It's going to look like opportunities. How many opportunities does this kid need for one-on-one or small group instruction versus this student who can take the asynchronous and run with it, and as long as we're keeping him engaged through those large group synchronous sessions with social emotional support and connection, they're going to be fine. So we are building this in a way that we're providing the opportunity for kids that have different needs to get what they need, because even within grade level, students will vary. We know developmentally it differs at each grade level. There is no one size fits all. Kids are going to respond differently to this environment. We want to provide flexibility for families, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. We want students to be successful. And in order to do that, we have to look at providing different types of opportunities. It cannot be one way for everybody. We want to continue to support our AAS core values through this. One of the things I want to point out at this time is that difference of students' needs. If your student is struggling with something, if there's some aspect of this environment that you're finding challenging as a family or as an individual student, please reach out to us, contact your teacher, contact us. Our goal in this is to support you to find ways to help you and your family be successful. So I talked about parent feedback. We have looked through the parent feedback that we got in the spring. And one of the things that we'll be doing, and I'll be demoing for you in just a moment, is our ES Launchpads. This is something new. The why behind it is the feedback that we got was that teachers and parents, particularly parents, would like us to try to find a way to reduce the amount of email communications that are coming, simplifying the format of trying to find information and looking for schedules, consistency for parents with kids at multiple grade levels. In other words, if I'm going to fourth grade to find some information, it would be really nice if when I went to third grade, it was organized the same way and in the same place. And then also on-demand resources. So we've talked about varying needs for students. If I have a student who maybe needs more practice or wants more to do more work, can we provide opportunities for that, that they can do on demand and their parents can support them with on demand? So the ES Launchpad that I'm going to share with you in a minute will be the central location for weekly schedules that will be put out at the end of the week. I think we're looking at a Saturday time that by this time on Saturday, every parent should be able to log in and see what the weekly schedule for next week is. It'll be a consistent location for regularly updated learning objectives. In other words, it's the place where parents will go to understand what it is their child is learning, what they should be able to do, and what they should know. It's a consistent location for resources specific to objectives. So along with that, what do they need to know? What should they be doing? we're going to provide resources for you to help them with that while we're in this online environment. It will be a static location for newsletters so that there's one place for that grade level to go for that newsletter. And if you need to go to third grade to check third grade's newsletter too, then that is on their site is going to be in the same place you found it on the fifth grade site. It's a consistent design across grade levels. These sites will look the same across grade levels. I'm going to ask you to bear with me for just a moment while I open this up. So as we look at this, this would be the fourth grade Launchpad. Again, the format that you see in front of you is pretty much set. As I go through some of these components, understand we're still in the process of deciding what things would look like as we put them there. I'm going to wait on the weekend at glance because I'm going to talk about schedules in a moment. But this would be a place that you could start your day. Go look at the week, go look at the schedule. Then your child could go to Seesaw. They could click on Seesaw. It's going to take them directly to the login site for Seesaw. I think here in my house right now, we're having a little bit of internet slowness, but it will take them there. There will be tutorials for parents and students alike on the technology. So if you need to assist your student in how to join a Zoom meeting or how to get on Seesaw, and we'll update these as we get feedback from parents about things that they're struggling with or they need help with, we can add to this. Information about your child's teachers and contact information will be here. You can see this in different formats, laptop, even tablet, and even phone. Oops, my apologies. This is where the newsletter will be housed. And again, if you're going to fourth grade to look at the newsletter, when you go to the third grade site, it'll be the same button for the newsletter for third grade. Then we will have by each subject area, we will have the content areas that will have math, will be the example I use today. Again, this is just today for an example, but you'll go to the unit on top will be the most current unit. You'll go to unit 3, you'll click on it, and here will be the learning objectives. We're again, today this is just an example. We'll have a consistent format, but it will tell you what your kid needs to do, what they need to be learning, and then we will also have a unit 3 resources, which I haven't populated yet, but that will take you to things that you can do to help your kid with those learning objectives. There will also be a place on each page to get you to a specialist page where they will house information about their activities and what's going on in their classes. And then of course, across the top here, we have a placeholder banner, but from time to time, if we have special things going on or special announcements, we can put information there so that it pops to you, it becomes aware, you're seeing it. So I hope that this meets a lot of the feedback. I feel like it really does simplify, creates consistency across grade levels. So now I'm going to go back to our slideshow. So on that website where you saw the WAG button, it's going to take you to a schedule. Again, today what I'm sharing with you is a format. The format that we have set up is what we're going to use. What I want to show you is that we've changed that format a little bit from last year to try to give continuity to the day and give times and references. This is right now just a template. This is not the actual schedule for 5th grade, but we wanted to populate it in a way that would show you what's going on. So in the morning, you know, it may be specials, but it gives you a specific time. Then there will be home-based meetings. that may start at different times in the morning for different grade levels, but we will have morning home-based meetings. Then there will be math. That may be asynchronous. There may be times when there are some synchronous things they're doing to follow up the asynchronous lesson. That information will be here. These would be links. If there was something live that your child needed to attend at 10 in a Zoom, this would be the link to get them with their teacher or the teacher that's presenting that information that day. Then there's independent work. And we put that independent work here. We put literacy strategy groups. These are small groups that you will sign up for like you did last year. The links would be here. And then there's one-on-one signups. And we put this in an area because this is the piece that is differentiated. The independent work you can plug into the day with your child where you think it fits and how it fits your family schedule. You have different opportunities to sign up for small groups, different opportunities to sign up for individual activities. And here are ongoing activities. These are things that we would hope that your child would be doing every day, that you would be supporting them in. And again, if you need to plug that in because you're a parent that feels like your student needs this, then this, then this, you are more than welcome to build a schedule that has these activities. If you're a family who the demands are such, or your student can't do back to back to back to back on the screen, these can be done at what time works for you and your family. If we go down, this is essentially a repeat of what you saw already, but it's in Indian Standard Time, but this is us providing an opportunity for students in different time zones to attend a different home-based meeting. It doesn't mean that if your kid wants to attend both of them that they can't, but this is an opportunity for children in different time zones to get that group connection. So that's the work that we've done for now on the schedule and on the Google Sites with an eye on providing opportunities that are flexible, providing opportunities that allow students to be successful in what works for them without putting everybody in a box that says this box has to work for everyone. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Diane to talk a little bit more about the curriculum and how we approach what we're teaching your students.
All right, thanks, Charles. So over the summer, several of us got together to really think through the curriculum and as Mr. Bellamy mentioned, to really kind of dig into what is research saying about what do we need to do as we approach teaching and learning this way. And so our approach for the Campus Connected Learning is really, we've identified some of the critical areas that content experts have shared with us as these are things we want to be sure we're hitting with the kids and be sure that we're teaching with the kids throughout this period. And alongside that is the notion that it doesn't mean we're just doing those to the neglect of the full curriculum. What it means is we're really targeting specific things that are necessary for that grade level, and in addition, bringing in all of the other pieces. And so what will the first few weeks of school look like for your child? It will, we're starting school-wide in the elementary school with a community building unit. And as the quote says at the top, social and emotional development is really integral to strong academics. And so we know that, and we are hearing that, and you probably hear that over and over. We need to build community. And so those first few weeks of school are going to help, teachers are going to help kids connect, students and teachers and families. We want to connect with you. The kids will learn about some of the tools that they're going to be using, and we'll also be including some safe use of technology in that time. And as far as the core content for math, reading, and writing, those units in that first month of school, those first few weeks of school, they're really going to explore who kids are. Teachers are going to help kids understand who they are as readers and writers and mathematicians. They're just going to build their identity in those areas, because it's through that that we can start building on the rigor and the stronger academics. And so here, at this point, I'll turn it over to our counselors.
Thank you, Diane. So for the counseling department, our focus will be leading up to the opening in our first few weeks of school. We'll also be building community. We recognize this is important to welcome back and connect returning and new members to the community. And as already mentioned by Diane earlier, the instructional coaches have developed a comprehensive unit around community building. And they recently asked us to collaborate with them to integrate social emotional standards for all of ES. So we will try to continue to work with all our teachers as a team to ensure that we're addressing our students' social emotional needs and mental well-being during connected campus learning. AES values relationships, connections, and our community. This is especially important to keep in mind while we're learning from a distance. We'll focus on connecting with our teachers, our peers, navigating our emotions during this challenging time, and enhance our learning by recognizing that social emotional learning is important and to foster a culture of belonging.
So one of our commitments that John and I have is supporting families and students. A big thing that we know families will be going through, just as we as staff, is transitions as many of us get back to Delhi, and that may include quarantining. We want to assure you that we are here to support your students through that process. We will support you as families navigating, like Mr. Bellamy showed, the schedule, making sense of when it's best for your family to engage, how to decide what's the right time. We also want to assure you that we are here for you as the parents of this process. If you need to reach out and get some strategies to help, especially for those of us once we enter quarantine, if that may mean being in a hotel room with a family all together, we just want to assure you that John and I are here for your students always, but we really, truly are here for you as families during this time.
And with that said, Kelly and I want to clarify that we are going to work closely together to support all elementary students, and we're going to operate as a team and communicate often to remain in touch with our students and maintain a solid understanding of the elementary social emotional needs. But we do recognize that with connected campus learning, things can be a bit complex. So we want to make things easier for you, and we've specified a contact person for certain grades. So I will be the contact person for students in grades 3 and 5 through 5, and Kelly will be pre-K through 2. Our contact information is on this slide. Otherwise, please check back in your inbox for an email that was sent a few days ago by the counseling department.
And the last thing we want to reiterate is we're here to provide the best support for your students. So we recognize that we have some families who have kids in both upper and lower elementary. And so for your family, it may not make sense to be in touch with both John and I, and we want you to choose what makes the most sense. We want it to be as streamlined as possible. Additionally, we want it to be the best for your students. So if there is a 5th grade female student that would prefer to talk with Miss Kelly about something, that will happen. Or, I don't know John's interest, but if there's a Lego group that wants to happen with some 2nd grade boys, certainly John would help do that. And we will do the best to meet the needs of your students. So with that, I also encourage you to, there was some webinars that you can find online. There's one that goes into a bit more detail about social emotional learning, so check that out. And I will pass it on to Shefali.
Thank you, Kelly. I think Diane, John, and Kelly have talked about the importance of building community and building relationships. And I cannot emphasize enough how important that will be to the work that we do with our students. With that in mind, all EL teachers are really committed to supporting students academically, socially, emotionally, and culturally. We also realize that students learn differently. So we would be really focusing on providing students with choice and multiple ways to not just access content, but also in ways that they can demonstrate their understanding of it. We would also be thinking about providing them with multiple opportunities to practice and grow in all 4 language domains: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And of course, equally important would be opportunities for reflection and feedback. So how might we do this? At AES, collaboration has been an integral part of how we support learners. So EL teachers will be working really closely with homeroom teachers in building community. We will also be co-planning and co-teaching content lessons. EL teachers will also be providing frequent one-on-one, small group, whole class meetings so that children get focused language instruction. In our co-planning with homeroom teachers, we would also be thinking about student partnerships and how to promote peer interaction. And finally, which I guess is even more important because it caters to the 5th domain of language learning, which is social emotional, is really designing learning around students' experiences so that they can make connections between the content that they're being exposed to and things that they see in their own world. At this point, I'll turn it over to Camille, who will tell us more about student support services at AES.
Great, thank you, Shefali. So in learning support, we really want to focus on supporting student-specific needs, and this happens through providing interventions and accommodations and to allow for academic growth. And we know that school isn't just about academics, but it's also about social emotional. And so by providing these supports for academic growth, we often really see students increase levels of confidence, engagement, and skill levels in and outside of the classroom with both academics and social. And so the students that we will support in learning support, some of them have already been identified, especially if they have already been at AES or they were identified coming into AES. And others may be identified based on teacher concern or parent concerns. So please feel free to reach out at any time if you have a concern regarding your students' learning, especially during the connected campus learning time. And so the supports will be very individualized for the students in order to reach their specific goals. And those goals will be determined by the student support team. And parents are a part of that student's team and have a voice in the goals that their child will be working on. And these can be provided, these supports will be done both synchronously and asynchronously, depending on the goals again. And for the synchronous sessions, they won't be found on the schedule that Charles had shared earlier. They will be individually scheduled with the learning support teacher for your student. And so as far as contacting learning support teachers, if your student has already been identified as needing learning support, our learning support teachers will reach out to parents within that first week. And then after that, it will just continue on an as-needed basis. And as always, reach out if you have any other concerns. Charles, can you flip to the next slide? And so here's our learning support team. We have one learning support teacher per grade level. And then we also have a wonderful school psychologist and a speech and language pathologist. And so everybody on this team is here to really support your student and your family through this time of connected campus learning and then when we return back in person. And then I think it's Scott.
Thank you, Camille. As we start to move into the beginning of the school year, I'm sure that technology and school supplies have been on your mind potentially. For those of you that are here in the National Capital Region, whether you're new or if you are a returning student that turned in your iPad, we'll have those available for you to be able to pick up. As well as we're currently working on grade levels identifying and specialists identifying materials that they might want students that are here on the ground to have, keeping in mind that we want to make sure that all students have access to all materials that they need. So the things that we might provide to students would also be accessible to students that are outside of India, either electronically or things that they could pick up readily in a local store. And then also we have a number of pieces of work from last year for returning students that would also be available for pickup. We'll have a schedule ready for next Friday, July 31st, that we'll publish to let you know when would be the appropriate time to come to the front of the school to be able to pick up all these different items. Yeah. And so I'm going to turn it over to Janice Roper, our after school activities coordinator.
Hi, everyone. IPOP is the name of our after-school activities program, and that stands for Individual Power of Passion. And we want to help your kids learn what they love to do, try different activities, be comfortable trying new things. And as has already been mentioned, we're working towards a return to on-campus activities as well as classes, but we know that after-school activities won't be part of the first phase of on-campus learning, and we want to continue to offer activities while we await that transition. So because of that, we'll start online activities in September. We want to have a range of activities that promote movement, creativity, and connections with students so they can continue to develop different connections with their classmates outside of the classroom. We'll have some more information coming on this in mid-August once we get a little bit into the swing of the school year. And I will be sending out schedule and registration information then towards mid-August so you can learn more about it at that time once we have the schedule all developed for you. And now I will pass it on to Wendy.
Thanks, Janice. Our library is thrilled to continue to offer a multitude of reading opportunities for your child. What that will look like in these first 3 weeks is a combination of our digital services and the extension of our curbside pickup. We'll expand the curbside service to twice a week at Gate 2, and we'll offer another Gagauan curbside service in these first 3 weeks as well. And of course, we're going to continue to offer our ebooks through the Sora app to all students and are adding books to this platform nearly daily. In addition to making sure students access our library reading materials, our library staff will be working with students to make sure that the resources outside of our library are made easily available, such as we did last year with the Library Symbaloo page of links. And just as we did in person, our librarians will be offering remote on-demand readers advisory sessions with students. And we'll continue to work with classroom teachers to co-teach and support lessons being taught. So we look forward to working with all of you this coming school year in many different ways. And now I'm going to pass it back to Mr. Bellamy, who's going to tell us a little bit more about communications.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate the hard work that you've all put into sharing this information with our parents today. Parents, I want to close with, what I feel is probably the most important piece of our ability as a community to help our students be successful. We want to hear from you. If you have an issue, if something's going on with your child, always you can start with the homeroom teacher. Contact that teacher. You'll have a point of contact there. If your student is receiving EAL services and you have questions about that, please feel free to reach out to the EAL teacher that's working with your child. You heard Camille talk about the learning support teacher. If your student is receiving those services and you have questions or you need some help, reach out to them. Really important are going to be the one-on-one sessions. This is where we're really going to be able to understand what kids are needing and where they're struggling and how they're progressing. As a parent, if you need to or you feel like you have a question or a concern, when you sign up for that one-on-one session for your child, if you need to pop into that to give the parent some context, you can do that. Understand that that is also the time that's set aside for that parent, that teacher to work with your student. But we want to know. We want you to let us know. Always, you can email the teacher. Depending on what the issue might be and what steps you've already taken, the counselor may be appropriate, or Scott and me will be appropriate. We will continue to look for ways to solicit your feedback about how we're doing. We won't stop that process. It's an important part of us understanding the needs of our community. So I do want to add one little comment about the technology before we move to our Q&A, just in case we have parents out there who are new and haven't been to India yet. Yes, your child will be able to access all of these things on a personal device until you get here and we can provide you with a device. And our tech support people are going to be working to help you with that if there are any issues. But I want you to know that personal devices will be fine to access these things. But as we close, again, just want to stress how excited we are, but always with our eye on us moving towards an on-campus environment. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us. And at this time, we're going to move to our Q&A session. All right, thank you. And as we move to the live Q&A, I'm going to start with just answering a few questions and then that have sort of reoccurred, and then we'll look at what's in the Q&A and try to answer as many of those as we can in the time that we have left. When it comes to students returning to campus, whether that's in a hybrid model or full-time or any access to the campus for students, those decisions can't be finalized yet. We are making plans. We are looking at the potential of half-day hybrid model when that comes, or full day, depending on what the government restrictions are, what the Indian government has to say, and who can come to school and who can't. We are actively planning for multiple scenarios so that when that information is available, we can act quickly. But at this point, we can't say for certain what that's going to look like until some of those details and that information is available. Andy, would you want to add anything to that?
Charles, thanks. I appreciate it. A couple of the concerns that we have, and we're still trying to determine two major factors, I guess, that are determining our the hours and time and focus we have in our classrooms has to do with some of the most simple things like food services and the manner in which we would be delivering food services to your children while they're on the campus, and the availability and the appropriateness of transportation provided by the school. Both of these things are fraught with details, but seem so very simple at the same time. So we're trying to figure out how we're going to do that. We have a team of people in both categories focusing on these two things, and we're likely to get some answers here very soon. But as we get closer and we look for guidance from our professionals on the ground, and also we're working with an outside party to help us with our safety and security and health measures on our campus. So we take input from all of these places, we'll be able to have a better determination of the type of and the time available that we'll be able to give students on campus.
Thank you, Andy. I have a question about the first 1 to 2 days of school. Want to make sure we clarify again that for elementary, we normally, our first day is a getting to know you day where teachers would meet with individual families and students and kind of exchange information and get to meet your child. We are still going to do that in a virtual setting. So August 4th would be a getting to know you day. We're, obviously in a virtual setting and scheduling, getting all that done in 1 day is not logistically possible. So we will actually be starting those on the 3rd and possibly even on the 2nd. Our teachers will be reaching out to families here later this week to arrange that. If you go beyond that and we look at really, I would say the first week, not even the first 1 or 2 days, what we're focused on that first week is building community, creating safe learning environments, getting students familiar with tools, how to participate in this virtual world, getting them to understand the Seesaw tool and how they can use that. That's really what we're going to focus on for the first week or so of school, and then we'll gradually integrate into the content areas and the instruction. But we are going to focus on connections, skills to be successful in a virtual environment for the beginning of school. Again, I think Andy has answered about the same would be true for IPOP in terms of the live in person. There's a lot to talk about and a lot to consider before we could answer the question of when that would happen. Janice will be updating us at some point on the virtual side of that, when we would be able to start that, but we are planning to provide virtual options. Let's see about the iPod. And what we can do or can't do once we get into the hybrid model, we need to know all of the stipulations and all the guidelines from the government. And as Andy said, also looking at what makes sense from a general health and safety standpoint for everyone. And so at this point, I can't say that we would for sure start in-person IPOP the same time we would start a hybrid model of instruction. I would like to ask about iPad. Yes, we will have tech support. We're working on that. We understand that there may be updates that may be needed to some of the iPads, and we're working on how to best support those who have school-issued iPads to do that from a distance. I think in the first, the beginning days and week of school, the most important piece is just going to be being able to access those synchronous group meetings and the Seesaw tool. But that's a great question, and it is something that we're thinking about, and it is something we'll have more information for you soon. Let's see. Schedules will be posted. Teachers will be talking to parents about schedules during the getting to know you days. We may have them up by the 31st of July. We are working on getting the Google Sites live for you as soon as possible, but we will certainly get you the information about the schedule for the first week to you before August 5th, during the Getting to Know You Day. In terms of understanding about the time schedule for on-campus, I think this webinar will be sent out to you in a recording. If you go back and you listen to the part where I go through the schedules, what I explained at that point is that we are trying to provide a suggested structure to the day, but we also understand that we have families in multiple places in the world with multiple dynamics. So there will be asynchronous things that you can schedule throughout the day in a way that best meets your family's particular situation, and we'll try to balance those out. We're going to provide synchronous and asynchronous opportunities. Some weeks for your student, it may be a little bit to the synchronous side, or some weeks to the asynchronous side, depending on students' needs. We still believe that what we need to do is identify each individual student, what they need from us to be successful, and then plan accordingly. And so in terms of Zoom links, the schedule template that I discussed during the webinar, the Zoom link should be there as teachers actually put together their schedule, and they design that template where you see community meeting or class meeting, and it has it may have Miss Melissa or Miss White's name, that will be a link so that her students or the students that need to attend that meeting can link that. Again, that will be posted in that Google site, so you have one place to go to get there. Class assignments will be coming soon. Our teachers will be reaching out later this week, and we will let you know about class assignments. I think, anybody, have I missed one that has come through? I think we're right at the end of our hour. So again, I appreciate everyone attending. We've had there's 155, I think, at one point, people in this session. We appreciate your time and your attention, and we look forward to August 4th and forward. Andy, did you have anything that you want to end with or part with?
No, thanks, Charles. Just a friendly reminder that tomorrow we will be doing another webinar for the high school programs, and then the following day, our middle school programs. So by the end of this week, you should have a comprehensive idea about how our teams are pulling their programs together to get our school year started off this following week, and as we move forward through the month of August, and with an eye on on-campus learning. Thank you so much for attending today, night, this afternoon, wherever you are. Thank you. Bye-bye.